Now that season 2 of House of the Dragon has reached its end, a lot of people have a lot of different thoughts on what happened on the show and how it ended. And I want to give my 2 cents on it, not in any way that's relevant to the experience of an audience member, but in a very relevant way to my delusions. Today, I will be rating House of the Dragon characters based on their bagability. Now, this is actually a reshoot. I tried to talk about like a lot more characters at first, and I just narrowed them down to make the video more digestible. And so let's just run a few things over before we get into the rating. Number 1, these are my opinions. Number 2, I am aware they are very delusional. Even with all my delusions, I know for a fact that if I lived in House of the Dragon universe, I would 100% be a peasant. As I'm sure a lot of us would be peasants. And I don't even mean that as a diss, I'm just saying, babes, just because you and I have black hair does not mean we're gonna be house dark. Now, like I don't know what to tell you, if you currently do not live in a mansion, you work a 9 to 5, it's giving peasant. It's giving, I actually work in King's Landing, cleaning the toilets. That's how I met the king. And he didn't even look at me, you know? That's what that is. So, and third disclaimer, I'm talking purely about the characters of the fictional universe. I'm not talking about the actors, although I might reference some points in their performance. But all in all, I'm talking about the character and not the actor. Chill. If you're one of those people that sends actors hate for playing a villain right, for playing a villain well, you need to touch some grass. Maybe get some therapy. Like, it's not that deep. It's not that deep. Ever. Now that we've established that, let it be known that I will be giving 2 ratings. Birkin bag and bin bag, because we love a good alliteration. Birkin bag being the good one out of the 2, meaning I could bag them, and bin bag meaning I would be thrown into the trash if I went anywhere near their perimeter. Comprende? Sí. Okay. So let's start with Criston Cole. Now, I think he's actually a wild card. Based on what I've seen online, you either really, really hate him or really, really like him. And just to be fair to all of the characters, I will be talking about a strength and a weakness that I can perceive from their characters. I think Criston Cole's strength is actually in his loyalty. You may disagree. You can say that his loyalty is hanging on a string. But if we look back on season 1, Criston and Rhaenyra had that scene on the boat where he was like, oh, we should run away together and pick oranges. And Rhaenyra was like, are you for real? You could see from that he was willing to give up his knighthood, his station, and all of that for Rhaenyra. Of course, you could also read this as him wanting Rhaenyra to give up her title and station so that they could finally be equals. But that's another conversation for another day. And when it comes to his weakness, I would say he's a loose cannon. We would also see in season 1, during Rhaenyra and Laenor's wedding, that he very much lets his emotions get ahead of himself. Like he beat the shit out of Joffrey, if I remember correctly. Laenor's paramour. Not just beat, he full-on killed him. And it was never fully explained why. I mean, like you could insinuate that like Joffrey may have provoked him or something, but that's not a very good trait to have. You could actually say that his weakness is rooted in his strength, that in his loyalty, in his want to protect Rhaenyra. He took extreme measures to do so. That being said, which bag would I rate him in? I could definitely Birkin bag this man. I feel like it would be quite easy. I feel like you just have to talk about something like loyalty, knighthood. You could maybe stroke his ego a little bit. Of course, realistically, you have to take into consideration that in season 1, his love interest is Rhaenyra Targaryen, the princess of frickin' Westeros. And then on season 2, his love interest was Alicent Hightower, the queen regent of Westeros. So there's that kind of little nuance that you have to take into. But I could totally imagine us, I don't know, meeting at a parade while he's like trolling or something. And we make eye contact, we talk, we have a good heart-to-heart, and suddenly he's like, run away with me to Essos. And I would probably say yes, depending on which episode Criston Cole I would be meeting. Of course, Criston Cole in season 2 became Hand of the King. So let's talk about his predecessor, Otto Hightower. Now I know what you're thinking. He's so sexy. No, but in all seriousness, I do actually think Otto Hightower is pretty sexy. I am a Tywin truther, and he definitely echoes a lot of Tywin Lannister in a few of his scenes. I don't think they're actually like equal. I don't think it's fair for Tywin to be compared to Otto and for Otto to be compared to Tywin, considering a lot of different things. But I do definitely think the showrunners saw how audiences reacted to Tywin Lannister in Game of Thrones, and they kind of wanted to emulate that with Otto Hightower in House of the Dragon. I would say Otto Hightower's strength would have to be his ambition. He definitely does not stop at anything to get a hold of power, and I would say he very much enjoys having power. And again, I do think that his weakness is rooted in his strength, and that would be his greed. He will not stop at anything to get what he wants, even at the expense of his family, particularly Alicent Hightower. Even in season 2, we will see like echoes of how Gawain suffered over the fact that he was left alone in Old Town and he grew up without a mother. So yeah, I would say that's pretty greedy. Another important thing to note about Otto in particular, that from what I understand, he never remarried because he was deeply in love with his previous wife, and her death was very hard on him. So that is a nuance that you have to take into consideration. But with that being said, I actually think I could Birkin bag him. I could Birkin bag him hard. We see that Alicent actually finds a sanctuary in religion. And you can kind of gather from that that perhaps Otto is a very religious man. And if not him, it would be Alicent's mother. I'm sorry, I don't mean to not know her name. It's just that I really don't know her name, and I don't think it was ever mentioned in the show. I know that she's from House Florent, so Lady Florent. Sorry. And my point with that is that Alicent has some sort of background or connection to religion through her parents, and regardless of whether or not it was from Otto or Lady Florent, you could probably gather from that that Otto likes religious girls. And I grew up Catholic, so I would know exactly which cards to pull on this bozo. I also do think that if Otto were to ever remarry, it would definitely be not someone his age and someone younger who could give him more heirs, and I could do that. I'm not saying I want to, but I could. Now that we've talked about two men that have been particularly relevant in Alicent's life, let's go for 3 and talk about Larys Strong. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, does Larys Strong have any pros? Well, I'm here to tell you that I think every character in the show is equal parts messed up and equal parts not messed up. I don't want to say they're good, but anyway, I would say Larys Strong's strengths would lie in the fact that he's always on top of things. You know, he's like a gossip girl. Is the information that he knows always correct? That's debatable. But do they always benefit him? 100%. I would say, yeah, he's quite a schemer. Like, he knows what he needs to do to at least have more control. That being said, I would say he lacks discretion. He definitely tries to be sneaky about things, but he just murdered his brother and his father, and not even in a subtle way. We would soon find out in season 2 that no one thinks it's an accident. Simon Strong says, "Bro, it rains here all the time. How is there gonna be a fire?" And for that, you might be surprised to know that I don't think I could bag him. He's definitely been bag. I mean, there's the added fact that I don't think my feet are pretty enough for him, but I actually mostly think he wouldn't be interested in any sort of relationship, especially not a relationship that doesn't benefit him politically. I feel like he would be overly suspicious about everything, which you could say about characters like Otto Hightower, but I just don't see any opportunity for me to position myself in a way that could seduce Larys Strong. And since we're talking about Strongs, we of course have to talk about Harwin Strong. I don't know about you, but I'm just gonna say it. Birkenbag. We don't even have to get into it. Like, I want to Birkenbag him. I really, 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 really do. Birkenbag immediately. Birkenbag. Now let's reel it back. A little bit before we get too excited. His strength would be his strength, but I'm going to be partial to his passion. He just has a fire about him. Obviously, he's known as Breakbones, and you don't really get to be called Breakbones if you're not passionate about breaking bones, you know? Like, and you know, he had freaking 3 kids with Miss Rhaenyra Targaryen. I would say that's pretty passionate. That is also his downfall. Like, he does not give a fuck. Like, he does not care. He's just like, I'm here, I'm present, I can muscle through my consequences. I feel like that's Harwin Strong in a nutshell. Of course, you know, he paid the price. R.I.P. King. You would have loved blended families. Do I think I could Birkenbag this man? We do have to put into consideration that his lover is Rhaenyra fucking Targaryen. I'm not saying that he's into monarchs or people in position. I think the pull that he got from Rhaenyra was because of her own fiery passion. In particular, when she was like covered in blood from like almost being mauled by a boar. He was like, oh, hey baby, how you doing? You like breaking bones too? I feel like that's the kind of thing that interests Harwin, and well, what can I say? I'm pretty passionate myself. I feel like if given the opportunity to kind of like show that side of me, maybe, I don't know, in Attorney, would I be invited in Attorney? I don't know. Or being unabashedly yourself, something that's gonna draw Harwin Strong into you. And so, yeah. Well, just delusional, and I really want to Birkenbag him. He's so my type. Please give him to me. Please. Now that we're moving on to important male characters in Rhaenyra Targaryen's life, we have to obviously talk about Viserys Targaryen. Now, I feel like I want to just put it out there that I think the funniest thing in House of the Dragon was that Viserys was actively dying in the show. And yet, because of this, I think you could say that one of his strengths is his ability to commit to the bit. Like, like he was told that he was gonna be king, and so he really saw it through to the end of his life. And that takes commitment, you know? He's willing to commit himself into something, and again, in the show, even to his death, he was committed to making Rhaenyra his heir. He never flop-doodled about it. Although, again, like all of the other characters, his weakness lies therein that he's kind of a pushover. He can commit to something, but the choices that he chooses is kind of flop-doodly, actually. Yeah, he was like, Rhaenyra is my heir. Yeah. Never really took any action to help her solidify her position. Didn't groom her into being a leader. He was just like, yeah, you're gonna be my heir. Good luck. You can do it. Yeah, you're gonna be my heir, but also you're still gonna be a cupbearer because women, and yeah. With all that into consideration, it would be so easy to Birkenbag this boy. Like, for real, like, Alicent just had to be there. Like, she just had to like be nice to him. And poor Alicent. And last but not least, if we're gonna talk about Targaryens, we obviously have to talk about Daemon Targaryen. Now for Daemon, I actually want to start with his weakness, which is his selfishness. Daemon reads to me very much as a Daemon first type of person and then everyone else. You can tell from season 1 and even in season 2 that a lot of his motivations are rooted in what he thinks is good for him. He doesn't necessarily care about the greater good of Westeros. He doesn't necessarily care about the greater good of his house. He just thinks that, oh, I have a right to do this. It is in my blood, it is in my history, it is in my ancestry, and so I will do this, I will do that. Also, I'm a dragon rider, no one can stop me. I feel like it's pretty undeniable. He will do his best because it benefits him. And so his strength is actually in his ability to serve. His ability to serve his family because he thinks it's important. His ability to serve his queen, his king, or even the realm because he thinks it's good. Now that we've established that, as much as I want to say I could Birkin bag him, we have to remember that his main thing is that he is a Targ-cest truther. The only people that he has ever shown any interest in are Targaryens, or people that could serve him, i.e. Mysaria, or even Alice Rivers. People that were able to do something for him. Now, depending on how we meet and what he needs in the moment, I would say it's a Birkin bin situation. I feel like if we met in his dire time of need and I was able to supply him with something that he needs, I could definitely Birkin bag him. But if it was during like his heyday where he was just, you know, really angry at the world and he just wanted to fly on Caraxes, I doubt. I feel like I'd just end up Caraxes meat, which is a shame because he is the love of my life. I just think it goes to show that as delusional as I am, I do have some sort of rationality in my head. And that is that. Obviously, there are still a lot of other male characters to cover, and I'm actually kind of tempted to maybe do female version. I don't know, we'll see whether or not I'll make another installation. I hope you enjoyed it. And I would love to know whether or not you agree on my pros and my cons for each character, and whether or not you think you could bag them. That's all for today. I really suck at ending videos, so I'm just gonna say Tahairas Vermithor.